I've got it up.
Welcome, everyone, to the case study. Today, we are going to have a guest who is a friend of mine also. And so we're actually turning the tables and not her podcasting me, but me interviewing her. So we are going to welcome Liz to the room. So hi, Liz. How are you?
Hi, good morning. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your company and what it is that you do.
Yes, absolutely. First, thank you for having me, Corey. It's always an honor, even to be in the same presence with you, even if it's virtually. So thank you for having me. Liz Alvarez. I've been in the construction industry for a little over 10 years now, and now have my own company, Omega Cleanup. We specialize in construction cleaning, janitorial as well, but our bread and butter is definitely construction cleaning. Started out, fell into the industry by accident. And that's a whole nother story, but I would start with engineering firm. And really that's where my experience started with construction. I'd really dive into business development and start understanding the process of bidding and scopes, even things as simple as concrete pours. Just I learned the basics, or the jargon, I would say, in construction with this company. Would eventually end up with GLA, Global Leadership Alliance, which is where I met Corey, or I got to meet her through GLA. And it'd be at this point where I think with every company that I joined in the construction industry, I'm learning something new. They specialized in construction partnering. And I mean, it was an aspect of construction I hadn't heard of, litigation and how to prevent it. But met a lot of great people with this company. I ended up joining the board of directors with AGC, NAWIC, National Association of Women in Construction, and really got to meet a lot of people and start developing relationships at this point in my career. Would end up joining AGC of California. And again, it really helped me be able to foster those relationships in this industry. And at this point, my business partner, he would be, I'm sorry, I'm getting so nervous. Sorry if I'm
No, don't be at all, because you know what? First off, I have to apologize because I have you advertised as Liz Romo because you're such a little dynamo. I can't keep up with you. So congratulations on the recent name change. And, just knowing who you are, I know that we're going to talk about relationships and how important relationships are, but it's not just relationships building, but you really have dove in to learn as much about construction as you can. And, as a teacher, what I love about seeing what you do is everyone who moves with curiosity through life is going to be able to gain and absorb the blessings that are out there. And you really have taken full advantage of that. And that really just is so refreshing, but exciting to be able to see someone living life at the highest intent. And so with that, I'm just so incredibly blessed to be here in the room with you and proud to be here. And, we were talking, it was just really interesting to me when I learned about you starting your company, because I hadn't really, it makes total sense, especially in California, where we have all of these green and sustainable standards and we have to do the recycling bins and all of this. But I had never really thought of a specific cleanup crew. You always have that standard laborer or two that's hanging around on the job site who's supposed to be taking care of all of that. And so just quickly, before we get into our challenge, tell us a little bit about that, and just tell us about that first spark of opportunity where your little light bulb went off and you just took it and ran.
Absolutely. So honestly, my partner, who is also now my husband, he had specialized in janitorial for, him and his family for almost 20 years. And obviously me being in the construction industry, my experience just being on the business development side, and we knew we wanted to start a business. We didn't know for a while what it would be. So when he brought up construction cleaning, that's when my light bulbs went out. Like, all right, you've got the experience in cleaning. I've got the experience in the business side, client relations, all that good stuff. And so we kind of just merged the two. You know, he definitely is the expert out in the field when it comes to the chemicals, equipment, the art of cleaning. And trust me, there is an art to it. You think of cleaning and it's easy. How hard could it be? But wow, in construction, it is very labor intensive. And I mean, your job is to make the GC shine. You know, your job is to make them look good. And so if you can do that, there's no end after that. So it's definite. And it's mandatory on every project. Final cleans. There's different phases of cleaning, from rough clean, which is kind of mid project, to final clean post project, to touch up cleaning, which is, after the punch out list, everything's finally gets done, go in for one final sweep. But it's amazing. Before I met my partner, I didn't know about that aspect in construction. So very small, but very essential part of the construction process.
Well, I think that's important, and this is why I love being able to show everyone all of the different opportunities that there are in construction. Because last week we talked with a traffic service company, and people think you just stand there with a sign and that it's not a big deal. But when you meet people that are in the actual discipline or path that we're talking about, you really get to understand the intricacies that go on with that particular discipline. And I mean, most of us know that if you keep a clean site, that you're keeping a safe site.
Yep.
And that safe site means extra profit that's not going into replacing individuals who are injured, or, cases where somebody gets hurt and you're dealing with insurance. So anyway, I love that you're doing this. Congratulations. I don't get to see you as much, so I don't like that about it. But I obviously know that as an entrepreneur, that's part of the business. And so I'm excited to have you today. And so we're going to be talking about a challenge today. And again, recognizing that this is an opportunity for someone to learn a lesson that is probably happening on their job site, or has already happened to them, or potentially is something that they might be exposed to in the future. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your challenge today?
Yes, absolutely. Corey, I mentioned this earlier to you. I came up with the list of many challenges that I've experienced since we started Omega Cleanup, especially. And I say since Omega Cleanup because prior, I had never got to work on site before. I had been in the back end mingling with other clients, but now being out in the field, you really get to be front and center. And see things firsthand and just how hard it could be. So right off the bat, just so much respect for the guys and gals working out in the field. One of the main challenges I wanted to touch on would be basically scope related issues. Early on, experiencing expectations with clients when it comes to the final clean. For example, we worked with a client on a tenant improvement of an office space. And typically when we come in to do the final clean, it's at the end of the project. Furniture has not been moved in yet. But what I would eventually learn is when it comes to office spaces, a lot of times they're bringing in furniture right away. And when it comes to a final clean, cleaning an empty space is much easier or less time consuming, I'll say, than a room full of things, locker space, like lockers, for examples. That will take so much more time. You've got to be very detailed. You're going in and outside of cabinets. And so my point is everything counts. So when we're bidding a project, we're bidding it as the plans show. And a lot of times the plans will not show, or actually they pretty much never do. That furniture will be there. So mind you, the first experience I had with this, we were expected to do clean furniture and ceiling tiles. And we hadn't done that before. but we hadn't addressed it in our proposal either. So we made the decision, we're doing it. This is a brand new client. We want to make them happy. So we went for it and we did it. So consequently, we spent more time doing the final clean. Time is money. So with that moving forward, I think what we ended up doing is now we're addressing those things. You go through different projects, different types of projects, and you start to learn what exactly every client's expectations are. And every client is different. We always strive to exceed, but now we address that. As furniture is excluded. Not to say that we won't do it, but it's just a small example of how important, every little thing matters. So that would be
Right. We have something in the contract that we often want to look for, and that's called a meeting of the minds, and making sure that everyone is on the same page. And I know a lot of subcontractors like to, a lot of subcontractors are basically forced into signing a contract that's already been created by the owner or by the general contractor. Typically, whoever writes the contract is writing it in a favorable manner towards them versus the person who they're asking to sign it. And often there will be a resistance to allow any changes to that particular contract. You can definitely check out my friend Megan Shapiro's contract lawyer page if you want to learn more about that, because she's amazing with subcontractor contracts. But what we need to be able to recognize is that there are things that you have in your control to be able to try to limit the risk that's involved when you move into a project. So I know a lot of subcontractors like to put together their proposal and then include exclusions or inclusions on that proposal, and then attach that proposal to the contract. So how do you work it out?
Yeah, that's exactly, we in the beginning, we did not have outline those things in our proposal, but would soon realize it's important, especially when you're going, every project is different. So not every exclusion that we address will be for every project, but that's where, everyone knows in this industry, it's so important to look at the plans and to really take your time reading through them so that very clearly, or at least can outline very clearly what is included in, at least in our example, what is included in our scope versus what's available if requested. So on every proposal, we've got a template that we work on now where all of our exclusions, inclusions, and terms are outlined, and we just kind of go through depending on the project. A school is going to be much different than a warehouse. So we're a hospital, they're also different. They all need and require different things. So we're just, we just take our time with that and making sure we are outlining what's applicable to each project that we're bidding.
Well, and I love what you said about, you know what? Here's our lesson. We're going to eat it, and we're just going to develop this relationship with this
Yeah.
owner, and we're going to go do whatever it takes, to make this happen. And a lot of times that's not done. So we'll sit there and we'll be fighting at the end of the project, and they're trying to get moved into their building. And so tensions are really tight. And, then it's most likely you're not ever going to get a job with that owner again.
Yeah.
But sometimes there's a legitimate change order that is due. And so how do you work with that with an owner?
Oh yeah. It really is. It varies with every client and with every project. Our mentality going into every project is we want to make the client happy, and it's not just making the owner happy. It really is pleasing the guys on site. We developing a strong relationship with the superintendent, as well as the project manager, as well as the project executive. They're also important. It's the guys on the field that are going to fight to bring us back onto the next project. That's what I've found. And so whether you've got the relationship with the PM or the guys out on the field, they're all so important. So when we come across challenges like that, or when we come across an opportunity to help the client, or even incorporate scope that wasn't initially incorporated, we want to make sure that they're happy. And so we have yet to say, sorry, no, not going to do it. Whether either we do it that time and then moving forward, we make sure to clearly address it. Furniture will be a perfect example. We were not planning on doing it. We didn't bid for that, but this was at the time, this was a brand new client and we wanted to make sure they were happy. So we knew, okay, we're going to eat it for now, but moving forward, we're going to make it crystal clear. This is excluded, not to say we can't do it, but it is an extra cost. It does take much more time. Requires much more detail. Just recently, actually just yesterday, we had another client that they had done the punch list and called us, hey, did you guys do the blinds? And my foreman out on the field, he said, oh no, I'm not sure if that's included in the scope. I would end up telling him, we never include blinds in our scope. And that's because either they're not installed or they're brand new, but we had never, to date at least, had to do blinds or were requested to do the blinds. We went and did it anyways because it was a superintendent, and he, he's got to look good. He's coming up on inspection and just wants to make sure everything's perfect. So luckily we had the ability we had someone free to go back out to the project site and get it done for him, despite it not being part of our typical scope. Our relationship with the client matters above all. Making them look good, making them shine. It's so important. And it's kind of that going above and beyond or exceed their expectations. That's the, what's the word? It's
that's
just
your motto. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. It's what we resort to every time. How we make the client happy this time, and what do we learn? How do we avoid or ensure that that the lines of communication are crystal clear next time? And so every project's different, every client's different, but at the end of the day, it's making sure they're happy. And pretty much with any instance that something like that has happened, it's more of, well, we should have been more clear, we should have talked about it. We want to make the client happy. So at least with our specific service or specialty, we can do it. It doesn't hurt us that much to do it. So yeah, we want to make it work. We want to make the client happy. And it really has helped us get to where we are today, because it's not just the PM that's going with us. It's the guys out in the field, the superintendent, that we love them. We love Omega. I want Omega on the next project. And so they do it. So it's worth it for sure.
So, in a lot of these situations, problems on job sites would be less if we had the right communication, and that communication is done early. And so when you say that Omega comes in for mostly the final cleanup on things, I mean, being able to get in there earlier and talk to the superintendent and being able to understand when they're going to install blinds and when that's all going to take place. Do you do things like that with your contractors, or do they really just look at you as the finished guy who comes in and just deals with it however it's left? Because we know how messy men can be, Liz. Come on.
Oh my God. Hey, I'll say us women too. But no, yeah. Being able to do a walkthrough with a client is great. We prefer it. We don't always get that luxury. And I call it a luxury because sometimes, every client is different. We have one client that we know when we go in for the rough clean or the progress clean or even the final, it's going to look like a tornado hit the project site. And so it's much more intensive. The clean will be much more intensive. It'll take longer, compared to other clients where it's like, wow, you didn't even need us. They're really good about keeping their sites super clean. So to answer your question, being able to do the walkthrough, it's something that we try to do with the client so that we can address and ask those things. I just mentioned just yesterday, a client had brought up, the blinds. Moving forward, I know to ask, will you be installing the blinds for the final? Will that be part of, I can ask now. So walkthrough helps, but doesn't always get to happen.
Doesn't always get to happen. And then again, that's all of our lessons learned, and you're tracking those lessons learned and doing a good job of that. It's just, it's just so, this is why we do this webinar, because it's one of those things where it's a lesson that someone else has already learned, but we just haven't heard about it. So where is it? Where can we all jump in and have one binder of lessons learned so that we can all have all of the information necessary so we don't have to learn these lessons on our own.
Yeah.
And so you were talking about how important relationships are. And I know that, you have a beautiful personality. And so relationships are really easy for someone like you and your involvement in everything. But how do you track or stay in touch and develop those relationships and be able to track that information with your company?
Yeah. It's been a lot harder to mingle with our clients and stay in touch and even see them since we started Omega Cleanup. That used to be the only thing I did, was go out and go to the networking events, make the calls, stop by the office, and do all those things. That for sure is a big part of maintaining a relationship. However, now I literally wear 10 different hats. So one day I'm the accountant, the next day I'm marketing, the next day I'm actually out in the field. That's probably a whole nother challenge we could talk about, where we've got so many projects scheduled for one day, it's all hands on deck. So anything on the computer it has to hold off while I go and get dirty, get my boots on and just get in there. So it's been much harder for me to be able to maintain relationships in that way. But going out into the field has been a huge part of keeping our relationships, having the conversations with the supers, having a chat, going to lunch with them. You get to know them on a personal level. And again, those relationships with the superintendents are just as important as having the relationships with the executives. And so just with the many different things I'm doing, I'm learning every single day. I mean, I told you, accountant one day, marketing, that's having a relationship with our client's accountant is important to me. There's so many different gatekeepers depending on which hat I'm wearing. So for me, having a relationship with every single person within that entity has been important. And so it's not always going to be having a lunch or stopping by the office, but even just having the conversations, not just saying, hey, when are we going to get paid? But hey, how are you? And how's the family? Having a personal conversation, because now they see my email come through and they want to answer. Oh, I know Liz, she's cool. Yeah. And she'll answer. So yeah, it really depends on the hat I'm wearing, but being able to maintain relationships with really everyone in the industry, depending on what they do, is vital.
Yeah, especially today, I think that's a really important point to underline. And that is that, as possibly maybe a superintendent or a manager, like your husband, he's out there, he's driving the work, he's putting the hammer down, and, you guys, come on, everybody needs to get this done. And in that sense, there's still relationship building, but it's not the kind of relationship that makes it easy to talk to somebody when really hard conversations come up. So when there is a dispute or some kind of a question on something, if you don't have a comfortable, loving relationship with someone, it's easy for them to tell you to go pound sand, But if you have a great relationship, then it's like, well, I don't really agree with you, but maybe we can work something out. So I really appreciate that aspect of understanding. It's not just knowing someone, but it's the depth of that relationship that really builds opportunity for hard conversations.
Yeah.
And so are you guys, we've talked about the challenge, and the challenge being really understanding scope and making sure that you're going through your specifications, you're going through your drawings, you're really meeting minds and everyone's on the same page. For a subcontractor, creating exclusions and inclusions as part of your proposal and adding that to the contract is going to help protect you. But as a cleaning company, aren't you guys kind of the afterthought? Like, do you ever feel like your scope is defined in those contracts and specifications and drawings?
Every GC is different. Some include the final clean in the bidding process, and others wait until they're closer to completing the project before they say, okay, we're ready for a bid. You know, we went through a qualification process with a GC. I don't know if I should, I won't name the GC, but we went through the whole qualification process, and only to find out that we only will have a shot to bid a project if we have a relationship with the PM or the super on site. So unless they specifically request us, we won't get to bid anything at all. which it's like, oh, and I'm trying to answer your question. I'm sorry. I think I'm getting off topic.
No, you know what? It's actually okay because it could be any GC, right? Because a lot of them do this. And it's the purpose of a pre-qualification is so that you don't have to go search for people and that you have a backlog of individuals who you trust, who you know can do the work for you, and that you can hopefully have a competitive bidding process of those top 3 or 5 people that you've vetted. But
Right.
sometimes, like those relationships,
Yeah.
that's what it takes to get your foot in the door, and so it's an important conversation. So don't apologize.
No, and even it's interesting. We could bid at some point. I learned it's at least right now, because we're still small, we're coming into our 4th year. At some point, we were bidding every opportunity. Anyone that sent us an invitation, we were putting out a bid. At that point, you think, well, it's, you put out so many estimates, you're going to win, you're going to be awarded so many. And that just wasn't the case. I would quickly realize it's the ones with relationship, the ones that we have a relationship. They're the ones that are actually considering our number. Even if we're the lowest bidder, if we have not worked with that contractor yet, they will not give us a shot. So again, every GC varies. Some are going to call us at the last minute, right before their project is done. Others will get that bid, and it is the ones that we have an ongoing relationship, where they'll ask us, please, we need you to submit a bid now. We're going to use your number to plug it in. So it's important way before they start the project to actually put in that bid. But every GC is different for sure.
Yeah, and that's an important point to bring out as well, because I think it's something that a lot of entrepreneurs or small contractors fall into, and that is just bidding everything, right? And sometimes it's good because
Right.
it gets your name out there and it gets people seen and familiar, but it's not necessarily good for the company because it doesn't allow you to really specialize in specific areas. You kind of get thrown around to wherever the bid is won, and that may or may not be in your expertise in that particular aspect of your field. And
Yeah, and
so
that's just for us too. Honestly,
yeah,
when we get bigger, we will be doing that. We will have our estimators focused solely on that, bidding every opportunity. But it truly is just because we're so small right now. We can only do so much. And so
yeah.
prioritizing for us right now is more important than doing every single estimate, or sending an estimate for every single opportunity
But
for now.
that's what I'm saying though, is even big contractors should not be doing that because not every opportunity is your opportunity. I mean, when you start looking at the tight margins that are happening on these projects, you really do have to be very specialized and very thorough about the type of work that your company is going to be doing. And then when you decide to scale and expand those pathways, then you do so slowly in and alongside what you're already really good at, and then you're able to get your company growing in that way. But I know that your company is going to be huge, and I know it's going to be successful. And so, can you tell us where we can find you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we have a website, omegacleanup.com. I'm on LinkedIn, Liz Alvarez. And yeah, that's where you'll be able to find us. We've got a virtual office right now, but we'll have our own building in no time.
Well, it looks like a real office, and I don't see any soccer balls around there or anything like that, because I know that you're a mom too, and so you are wearing more than just a few hats. And so I do want to congratulate you on having a successful entrepreneurial company, having a successful company with your partner and husband. And thank you so much for being here today to share your challenge.
Thank you so much, Corey, for having me. It truly is an honor. I very much admire you and everything that you're doing in this industry. So keep doing what you're doing. I'm a lifelong follower of you, and thank you just for everything that you do.
Thank you so much. And I just want to thank everyone else, and be able to tell you all about our Christmas bonus gifts. Just want to make sure everyone understands that we have available our high school CTE CM program, our practical application, project planning, and our construction management essentials. And just newly launched, that's going to be out this coming year, is going to be the Executive Edge, which is for those in the C-suite. And then we are opening up our Leading Ladies membership for our annual membership. We've already had our goal setting seminar, and we're getting ready for all of those other monthly seminars and building confidence in women in male majority industries. And then I don't want you to forget about the Christmas gifts of the Rise of CM Sally and the Rise of CM Charlie, where little ones get to learn about the work that you are doing out in the field. And it provides a career discovery path at the end of it that helps them see for themselves how to get into the construction industry. Thank you, everyone. Merry Christmas. We're going to take a couple of weeks off, but I appreciate you being here, and have a safe construction workplace.
Merry Christmas. Thank you so much, Corey.
Merry Christmas. Thank you.